Hello and welcome to the Lion Show. I'm your host, Robert Lyon. I'm out in the Tonto National Forest, foresting it up, dropping that knowledge. But it is actually really important that you listen today. I've had a incredible, enlightening epiphany, and it has actually changed my life. And it could be truly beneficial and maybe change your life. So be sure to stick around. So I've actually talked about this a little before, but we have standards in our lives, and we are the lowest denominator of our personal standards. If you have really low standards, your life is a very low standard. If you have very high standards, your life is a higher standard. If your vibrations are high, if you don't let yourself fall into low stuff, And it's really interesting. And the only way that I can connect it is with bank accounts, right? So for your bank account, right, you probably have a cap, like a certain number that you hit frequently that you can't break through. It's like, the glass ceiling. Like you think you can burst through it, and then you hit it, and then you go back down. And then you hit your very bottom glass ceiling down at the bottom in your bank account, right? You run out of money, or you get to $1,000 or whatever it is, where you start panicking. And this is where you're like, okay, I need to get my shit together. I'm gonna fucking make a bunch of money now. And then you make a bunch more money, right? And then you hit that top ceiling. And these are a numbers representation of the concept that I'm trying to talk about today. So for our lives, we do it to ourselves. We have ceilings that we hit, and then we do self-sabotage. Self-sabotage isn't quite the right word, but it's like we get to a point in our life where we get a good relationship, we make a great deal, or we make a lot of money, right? And then we do something to sabotage ourselves. And it's not even us, it's our brain. And it's because our brains are habits. We make habits out of everything. We have loops that we go through in our lives. So the weird example that I can give you is, let's say that when you were born, you were a burden in some sense to your parents. Your parents weren't planning on having a baby, so you became a burden though in their lives. And you grew up feeling this kind of way. I know, depressing, I'm sorry. But you grew up feeling like you were a burden to the world. So then you would go out there and you would create beautiful things. And instead of feeling grateful and blessed that you created something, you might feel like sometimes what you've created is a burden as well to yourself, right? So you have to be able to connect the dots and break through that standard and realize that you are a great, incredible person in this world. But what can happen is every time you do something incredible, you could self-sabotage yourself by thinking it's some sort of burden and then fucking up. This is just one of those stupid emotional games that our body is and does to us sometimes. We won't know why we're self-sabotaging ourselves. We'll get into a great relationship, we'll start falling in love, and then we'll fucking trigger something in us and say that this is too good for me, I don't deserve love, and you can start doing things and fucking it up. You can start sabotaging yourself in a way. And it's not necessarily that it's your fault. It's never necessarily your fault. It's just kind of how you're wired. But if you're able to take a step back and look at your life, look at what you've done, and then see the ceilings that you've hit, and then see the fallout that you've had, you can really start to see a map and start to see your standards in a way. But you'll be able to see your lowest standard and your highest standard. Now, in order for you to truly step into your genius life, into your happiest life, you really have to understand that the next time you're going to get good and great things, there is a potential that you might self-sabotage yourself. If you've done that in the past. If you don't, maybe you're golden, but I think most people do. And it's not like a conscious thing. It's a subconscious thing. And the way that you can combat it, though, is by essentially feeling gratitude for what you have and not gratitude for what you lack. But it also is a sense of when you get something good going in your life, you keep that good vibration going. And what I think we have to do, though, because I think it happens regardless until we can truly dig deep inside of ourselves. So instead of letting the universe and letting our mind drag us back down, we have to set the new standard is this now. And you have to constantly be saying that. You have to say, instead of letting your work get shitty, you have to keep your work at that high vibration, at that high money-wise. You know, you can invest your money into things that'll make you happier and things like that. But maybe when you get that all-time high of your money, you say, okay, this is actually the new standard now. I'm going to bring in my own suffering, my personalized suffering, if you will, because pain isn't necessarily a bad thing, okay? Pain is actually what makes us stronger. Pain is the thing that tells us if we're fucking, hurting ourselves, so if we didn't have pain, people would do all kinds of weird shit. They'd probably have they'd be cutting off their limbs as a new fad or something, you know what I mean? But pain is there, so we hurt, so that we hurt ourselves, but we don't hurt ourselves bad enough to kill ourselves. So, and pain is also good because it shows you how far you can go. And then if you want to build muscle, you have to rip the muscles and then have them rebuild stronger. So pain is a good thing. So whenever you hit those new highs, right, that new ceiling, the new big life that you're going for, and you get close and you feel it, it's important that you do your own sort of cleanse once you hit that all-time high. It would be something like this. It would become truly grateful for what you have now, instead of feeling any sense of lack, instead of feeling ungrateful or making up stories about things to be ungrateful about. These are important. And then instead of spending and splurging like we normally would when we get a huge reward, yes, pay yourself first, reward yourself, but put it in place that you're only going to do a certain amount of that, and then you're going to do some sort of, I hate to say repent, that sounds fucked up, but just know you have to do something to counteract your environment or something from taking you back down to your lowest standards. So you have to constantly, just draw the line and just say, this is where I live my life. I live my life above this fucking line now. And then you go into that next level, right? And then you set the new standards. This is how we grow. This is how we learn. This is how we improve. And if you're constantly doing that and constantly getting better and leveling up, and then understanding that sometimes you're going to hit those ceilings and you're going to need to take a break, but you're not going to let yourself be self-sabotaged. You're going to instead cause your own sort of system of suffering or your own self-push. You're you want to set a goal for yourself at those moments, a hard goal. In the military, we'd always sing this song called Old King Cole, and he would sing that merry men are weak. And I think that's kind of cool, because merry men are weak. And I mean, we all want to be happy, and there's nothing wrong with happiness. But if you truly want to know what you're worth, you got to go through some hard shit sometimes. But it's also better to self-induce that than to have the universe or your subconscious or something do it for you. So I just think this is how we can constantly be improving in life. We can constantly, push ourselves in certain areas of our lives and like see what we can do with everything. See what we're really made of, I guess. And it all comes down to mental stuff, mental games that we have. But if you really want to take the leap into your higher self, your best life, your genius life, you have to embrace that you're always raising your standards, and you have to embrace that you love yourself enough to raise the bar, to step your game up, and then say that when you're at that new high level, you have to be able to set your own standards and then live through the struggle of not self-sabotaging, not overindulging. These are all interesting things. And then I recommend also trying to not cure yourself, but give yourself a dose of some hard love, Set your new standards. This is the new bar of my life. This is the new standard. We're not going back to the old way of doing things. This is how we fucking do things now in this life and this time that I have. And I'm not saying to burn yourself out or push yourself too hard. I'm just saying to do things the right way and then see that you're at that next level right now, the next paycheck you get, the next big deal that happens. You just say, okay, this is now ground zero. We are going to freaking eat ramen noodles and bust out to get to that next check so that I can have this, next life, this good life. And I'm just going to work my butt off through this. So it's like your own sacrifice. I think that's the word. You have to self-sacrifice a little instead of self-sabotaging. But yeah, so you just got to set your standards higher. And I think there's so much value in just realizing that there is this up and down going on in our lives, more than a bank account, more than anything. It's our relationships, it's our lifestyle, it's our friends. There's a lot of we have a limiting thing. It's like when you clean your room, right? So you'll let your room get to a certain level of disorder and dysfunction, and then you'll finally clean it. Or the dishes. You let enough shit into the sink without taking care of it, and then finally when there's too much, that's when we act. Or we take care of it every day and we do the hard stuff. We don't let the easy things take over and we say, okay, this clean sink, spotless, this is the new standard for my sink. And then you can do that with all sorts of things in your life, and you just keep raising your standard, and you're going to end up with some incredible things in an amazing life because you didn't settle. You didn't let yourself be the worst version of yourself, but you made yourself into the best version of yourself. And I think that's what it's all about. And I want you to look into your life now and see the highs and lows that you go through, and know that when you're in those real deep down lows, you have that comeback power to push yourself out of those situations and hit that new next standard, and then go into your best life, into true productivity, creativity, and enjoyment in your life. So that has been the spiel. Thank you guys for listening and watching. I hope the wind didn't screw it up too much. And please share this on your social media. That's all I'm asking. I just want more people to hear my wisdom. I'm trying to help as many people as I possibly can. I'm getting my studio this weekend. It's fucking Monday. So by Saturday or Sunday, I'm going to have a brand new spanking studio, and it's on. I'm going to teach you guys some cool stuff. Take care. Namaste.